Alrighty, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the YMCA Virtual Connect. I'm so glad to see you guys today, and I'm very excited to welcome back yet again. Thank you for your patience, Zion Lamel from You Can Vote. She was kind enough to show up here 2 weeks ago when I had a technical difficulty, which I can hardly explain, but it happens, and you guys were all, those of you who reached out were so kind to me about that. But I'm really excited to have you here today, Zion, because I feel like there's so much question and concern about what's going on with voting, and I think it's so important that we all understand what our options are, what our rights are, and just know what's going on in today's climate so we can participate. So with no further ado, Zion, I'd like to introduce you, and I'm going to go ahead and suggest that everybody hold their questions to the end, because as she goes through her presentation, you might get your questions answered, and then it won't be necessary, but if you want to jot it down, and then when we get to the end of her presentation, then we'll go ahead and open things up for any questions that we didn't cover. And I'm just like to, let's see if I can maybe put everybody on mute. Zion, if I put everybody on mute, you'll just need to unmute yourself. But I'm gonna put everybody on mute so there'll be no interference with her. If you need to come off of mute for any reason, you can do that, but it might be clear if we do that. So here we go.
All right, can everyone hear me? Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to present to you all today. So basically, I'll give an introduction of myself, who I am, so you know who I am and my background, and then we'll get the presentation started. So of course, I am Zion Lamel, and I'm the Regional Director for You Can Vote Mecklenburg County and in the surrounding counties. I've been with You Can Vote for almost 3 years now. And You Can Vote actually started in 2014 at a women's march, where our executive director, she saw that there was so much information that people hadn't known, and there was a lot of misinformation. And so she made it her priority to do research and to get the right message out, and to also simplify the voting process. So ultimately, that is the foundation, and that is to reach those who normally don't have a voice or overlooked, and then to simplify the information as much as possible so that people are not deterred from voting. We want to empower people to be active voters and to also shed that light to their family and to their friends. So that is basically how You Can Vote got started. My background is working campaign jobs, traveling across the US and getting candidates elected into office. That was a very tiring job, but I gotta tell you, I enjoyed it thoroughly because it offered jobs for people, and I like the hustle and bustle, but as I'm getting older, I think that this is a better fit for me. So I definitely say that I miss that. One thing that I would tell you that my passion about You Can Vote is that it's information. I did a campaign in Virginia, and I was working with paid canvassers. And so we had to do a training and make sure they knew everything. And then they were out into the field doing door-to-door canvassing. And I don't know if you all remember, but this is a year where there were hundreds of thousands of volunteers that travel all across the US just to come to Virginia to do door-to-door canvassing. And literally the work that the volunteers did was the equivalent to the work that the paid canvassers did. And it was only about 60 to 75 paid canvassers. And I always said, man, if the volunteers, like with that motivation, and then to have the training that we do, this would be like a powerhouse. And so when I found You Can Vote, and that was exactly what they did, it was like, okay, so this has to be a sign that I'm supposed to be here. So that's definitely where I started from. And so that is my favorite thing. It's just the information that's provided and how it's presented. So hopefully you will feel the same way that I do. I'm going to share my screen without further ado. And again, for any questions that you have, if you can hold them until the end, I will answer any questions you have, but I want to be able to get through the presentation and make sure that you get everything. If you can, try to refrain from typing in the message box as well, because we found that sometimes when people are typing into the message box while the presentation is going on, you tend to miss information. So I'd like for you to just look at my face in the presentation and we'll be done shortly. Okay, so give me 1 second. Okay. All right, so again, this is You Can Vote and Know Your Rights, Make Your Plan. And that is our slogan for this year. Now you can see there's a couple of links down at the bottom. Disregard the students backslash, but we are on several different social media platforms, and you can find us here at You Can Vote North Carolina. So we are on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're also on Facebook. So you can find us anywhere on those platforms, just typing in You Can Vote. We also have a Charlotte Facebook and Instagram page. You would just have to put in You Can Vote /Charlotte and you'll find us there. And it's the same information, but there's some things that we put on that is just conducive for Mecklenburg County. So that is worth requesting to be a friend on both of those platforms so you can stay connected. And again, that's You Can Vote Charlotte on both Facebook and Instagram. So our vision and our mission, we envision a representative democracy that reflects the diversity of our state, includes voices, and aims to serve all North Carolinians. So our goal, like I said, is to bring forth those voices that we don't normally hear. Those that we tend to target are students, people of color, those with disabilities, and the elderly. A lot of times these populations are not privy to the information and they are overlooked. And when we look at the numbers, these groups are the ones that their voting information is at the lowest percentage. So we work really hard to try to get our information and simplify it so that all can understand it, so that we can educate people about their rights and just empower them. The whole goal is to empower voters so that they can be active voters and not just, okay, I'm gonna vote with what mom has or what I've always done. We want to empower our voters to not only be active voters, but be cognizant of what they are, what they have the rights and power to vote with. Okay, so I'm going to actually take you guys to the actual website, but I'll explain what this is right now. So we have this form on our website, and this is what we call What's on the Ballot, and we do it every year. And the whole premise of this is most people feel like, when you're talking about overcoming objectives, most people feel like their vote doesn't count or they don't know what to vote for. And majority of the population are voting only for the presidential election. So you have a lot of voters that are only voting every 4 years, and they're frustrated and they're upset. And that's understandable when you're only voting in a presidential election. So we do try to bring awareness to local elections. And by doing so, this is what we have figured out. We have this on our website, and I'm going to take you to it in just a second, but we break it down into 5 different categories. Ultimately, we break down, this is what's going to be on the ballot. So we'll be dealing with healthcare, education, criminal justice, civil rights, and climate. And then we break that down into different levels. So let me minimize this for a second. How do I get rid of this little thing here? Okay. sorry. There we go. So if you want to go and check this out on your own, you would type in youcanvote.org. It'll take you to our homepage. Okay, this is our homepage here.
We can only see, you're not sharing your screen anymore.
Where did it go? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, you see it? Is everyone?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you're going to go to youcanvote.org, and then it's going to take you to our homepage. This is our homepage here. And once you get to the homepage, then you're going to go to, move this out of the way. You're going to go to Voter Guide. And once you get to Voter Guide, you're going to go to What's on My Ballot. Click on that. Okay. And so then, just like you saw on the screen that I just showed you, it's the same thing. We give information about what this page is about, election days, and then we have the different categories. Generally, when I ask this question, most people bring up climate change, so I will go with that unless there is one specific that, yeah, I'll just go with climate change so you can check it out. So, okay, I care about climate change. So you click on Learn More. All right, so we talk about what you're actually voting for within the climate change, and then we break it down for what exactly will be on the ballot. So you'll be dealing with the supervisors, county commissioners, and mayors. We also break down what their job is and what they're in charge of. And then we go down to state level, and then we go to local level, okay? So that is a really, really good resource that we have just recently added to the table that I really like. And a lot of times we use what's on the ballot because when we were out in the field, when we were able to be out in the field, that is, people would say, oh, it doesn't count. And then it's like, well, what matters to you? And so they would say one of these things. And so then we would say, well, do you know that you have the power to vote for this? And so to see people's faces light up and know that, okay, I have the power to change my own community, that has been a really rewarding thing. So I have enjoyed this website. So please feel free to check it out. We have all kinds of beautiful things on the website that we've added this year. So please check it out. So researching candidates. There's a few different ways that you can do that. You can do, if you go to youcanvote.org/lookup, you can find sample ballots there. Now, I will tell you that a lot of times the sample ballot can be very overwhelming. It's this big paper and it's all of these names and districts, and if you don't know what your district is, and it can be very, very frustrating. But the beautiful thing about the youcanvote.org/lookup is that you'll click on this link. It takes you directly to the Board of Elections, the Mecklenburg County Board of Elections website. And then all you're doing is put in your first and your last name along with your date of birth. You click on that, and then they pull up your address, your last registered address. They have everything, like all of the years that you voted. And I think that goes back all the way back to 1986. So it has your records up until 1986 on to now. They give what your district is. They have your sample ballot for your area and where your polling location is, the nearest early voting site. So this is a really good website to check out. So that's youcanvote.org/lookup. And then the League of Women Voters created this website a while ago. They have changed it a bit since then. So please let me know if you have tried it. Let me know how it goes for you. They should have the candidates up, but basically vote411.org. This is a website where you can put in your address. And then once you put in your address, they will line up all of the candidates, including the presidential candidates, that are in your address, in your zone, in your district. And so what they do is they send a series of questions out to all of the candidates that's running, and then the candidates then return with a response, and then they post it on their website. And so once you put in your address, then they'll pull up all of the candidates that are in your local district, and then you can be able to see those questions and see how they answer. And then they actually have it to where you can click on several different ones to compare the two. So once you've looked at the candidates and it's like, okay, I see what this person has to say, I see what this person has to say, I think I like this person. So you would click on them and then they would save your response. So then at the end, when you're done doing your research, you have a list of candidates that you know what their platform is, that you can be able to reach out further to see what they're about. And then you have a list of all of your candidates that you want to vote for, if that's where you want to stop. So that is a really, really great tool to use versus the sample ballot. So I encourage you to try that out as well. And then also there are many other resources that you can research, the newspaper and things of that sort. Just be cognizant of what you're getting, where you're getting your information from. As You Can Vote is nonpartisan, all other organizations may not, or where you're getting your information, they may be partisan. So you want to just make sure that you are researching and understanding what information you're getting. You're making a sound decision for yourself. Don't let anyone decide for you. Empower yourself to educate yourself on what you want, because it's all about what appeals to you. Okay, so there are 3 ways to vote in North Carolina. The first one I want to talk about is voting early. Voting early is generally the thing that we press really hard with. And the only reason that I say that is because when you vote early, there are a lot of different locations that you can go to, and as long as you're going to an early voting location that's in your county, then you can go and vote anywhere. So say if you are having lunch with friends and you're like, you know what, I need to go ahead and get this voting out, I have time, you can go to any site that's around in that area, go ahead and cast your ballot, and you're squared away. The lines are generally shorter. We are working to make that longer. No one likes long lines, but if we can get more people to vote early, then I think that would render really great results for our state. So there's no wrong precincts when you vote early. You can also use this as same-day registration. So if you're not registered, you can go to an early voting location, you can register, and you can then, once you register, then they will all automatically take you to the machine so you can go ahead and cast your ballot. And you can go to youcanvote.org/voting to look up early voting location as well. You can also just go to the Board of Elections and look up that information as well. The second one is voting election day. Now with voting election day, you must be registered. You have to go to your assigned polling location. If you don't know where your assigned polling location is, you can go to youcanvote.org/lookup, and that's the same one we were just talking about. Well, they'll have your name, your address, and your polling location. And then, of course, we know that voting early day voting starts October 15th, and it ends on the 31st. And then election day, of course, is November 3rd. The last one is to vote by mail. So you can request an absentee ballot without any reason as to why you want to do it. You can just put in that request, and we'll go over that a little more in depth later on in the presentation. But it is a 2-step process. You put in a request for your ballot, and then they actually started, if you've already completed an absentee ballot request form, then they have started sending the ballots out September 4th. So they'll be sending those continuously out until the end of October, I believe. So yeah, and so also here, this website, youcanvote.org/mail, we literally break down the entire process. So if there's something that I have not answered or you couldn't remember, this website here, youcanvote.org/mail, breaks down step-by-step process as far as what you need to do and how that needs to be processed. There have been a few things that have changed with the absentee ballots as it relates to you have to have you can have one witness now versus two witnesses, and I think the only other change is how it's sent to them. So if you're not able to if you're not able to send out the form, or you're having issues with that, you can have an assistant or a relative assist you with that. And we can go further into that later on. Okay, so of course, this is what I was saying, all of the benefits of voting early. Same thing as election day. And if you see, the polling sites start at 6:30 a.m. and they end 7:30 p.m. For election day. Now, if you have any questions, or if you see anything fishy about what's going on within the polling location that you go to, or if you have someone coming to your door and saying, hey, your polling location changed, and that seems odd to you, or anything that just seems out of the ordinary, you can always call the voter hotline, 1-888-OUR-VOTE, and they literally are there. These are attorneys that are here to help you with knowing what your rights are, knowing how to navigate the system, and any problems that may arise. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. When I was in Virginia, we had, it was election day, and we had sent out our canvassers. They were going door to door, and they had found out in one neighborhood that there was a poll worker that was, because I think they had, they had in the paper form of the ballot versus the machine. And so the poll worker was telling everyone all they had to do was put an X versus filling in the circle completely. Filling in the X means that their vote wouldn't be valid, because that wasn't the proper way to fill it out. So imagine the polls opened at 6:30 in the morning. At this time, it was 11 o'clock. So we have no idea how many people were affected by this, but we did immediately call a voter hotline, and they have people in every area they had people, representatives in each area of where the polling location is, to investigate that. So they acted on it very quickly. I'm not sure what came of it, but they are very serious about these things. So please feel free to call them for any issues or questions that you have. So now, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but because of COVID, they passed a law to where you can now register online, which was great because we didn't have that before. And so the process is very simple, and we'll go through it now. But if you're not registered, or if you need to change your address, or if you want to change your party affiliation, those types of things, you can go to youcanvote.org/register. You'll be able to take care of all of those things. So let's talk about eligibility. Eligibility, of course, you have to be a U.S. citizen, and U.S. citizen as in born in the U.S. And I'm not testing your intelligence, but this is something that does come up. So if you have a green card or anything of that sort, that does not equate as being a U.S. citizen. So you do have to be a U.S. citizen. You must be 18 by election day to vote, but you can be at least 16 years old to pre-register. And actually they have it now to where this year, for the primary, 17-year-olds was allowed to vote in the primaries as long as they were 18 by election day. So that was really awesome that that was able to happen. We actually got a lot of high school students registered and got them pumped and motivated to do do the primary. So that was the first year that they were able to do that, and they were very excited about it. You do have to live at your residence for at least 30 days before the election day. So if you move, let's say October 27th, you can register at your new location, okay? But you will still have to go to your old polling site because it's less than 30 days. that you've moved. So you would have to be at your residence for at least 30 days in order to go to the polling location assigned to your address, okay? Also, you must not be currently serving a felony sentence or on probation or parole for a felony. So say there's someone who has a felony charge, but they have completed their probation, they've completed their parole, they, at the day that they're signed off and said that they are done, that they are free, they can automatically register to vote and they automatically get their rights back, which is a huge, huge feat because before they didn't have rights at all, right? And when they changed that, then it was like, well, you can vote, but you have to apply for your rights, which took over a year or more just to get their rights back. Now, as long as they're done with their probation or parole, and as long as they're done with their probation or parole, then they are eligible to register to vote, and they don't have to, and their rights are automatically restored. Now, there is something else that they're adding to this, and there's not many answers that I can give you right now. It's still very confusing, and we're waiting to hear what the final say is. But they're fighting now to make sure that there are felons who have completed their probation, they've completed their parole, but they still owe fines. There's a lot of money that goes into being on probation and parole. And so if they still have a debt that needs to be paid, they're working to where that is not something that prevents them from voting and having their rights. So that is something that is kind of started in the making earlier this year, and they came up with something, I would say a few weeks ago, but they're still working on that. But that is a pretty cool thing to be able to let folks know that they have the rights. And we have people who haven't voted in 20 years because they've been told that they don't have rights. So this is a really good thing that has changed for them. So of course, every time you move, you need to fill out the registration form. And the reason for that is because, especially with how they've changed so many different locations and voting sites and things of that sort, they need to determine where you are. They need to determine what's going to be the best place for you to vote. And so even if, say, if you have you move from one side of the street to the next side of the street, that doesn't necessarily indicate that you will still be going to the same polling location. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I had lived in this place for about 3 years, and then I've been going to the same polling location each year. And then I moved across the street to a different apartment complex, and I went to thinking it was going to be the same thing. And I went there and they said, no, you're up the road. So thank goodness I had a vehicle. But those are just one of the things that we want to try to make sure that people are aware of, to make sure that you know where your polling location is and that you have an up-to-date voter registration card with your up-to-date address. So that way you don't have to deal with the hustle and bustle of being turned away. That can be extremely frustrating and time-consuming. So. Okay, so this is the process of how things are now as far as if you want to register to vote online. You can go to youcanvote.org/register. And there's two different ways if you notice this, okay? If you have your driver's license or your ID card, then you can complete the full process online. If you don't have that, you still can fill out the form via online. They'll just mail you the form for you to sign, and then you would just have to mail it back to the Board of Elections. And they do pre-address it, and they do provide a stamp. So that's really great as well. Okay, and so the first thing is, you want to ask yourself, do you have a license or do you not have an ID? And if you do you know your Social Security number? If you know your Social Security number, then you can complete it online as well. And if you don't, then it would be the same process if you didn't have your ID. So if you have your license or ID, as well as your Social Security number, then you can do and register to vote entirely online. If you don't have your social and you don't have an ID, then you can fill out the form and then they mail that form out to you. And all you have to do is just sign and date and then mail it back in the pre-addressed and stamped envelope. And this is what the process looks like if you have both things that are required, then this is what it'll look like. So you'll go to the website that I just told you about. It'll take you right here, and this is basically what it'll look like, okay? So you wanna select North Carolina voter registration. Ooh, you'll click that. Then it'll take you to this page here, okay? And then you'll go to voter registration application. And we have this information online as well. So if I'm moving too fast, just know that we have the same information online. Okay, once you go there, it'll say continue to My North Carolina DMV services. Okay, and then it'll ask you, do you want to continue with your email? Do you want to sign it with Apple, or you want to continue with Facebook? I would say no to all of those things because it will take you on a whirlwind and that will frustrate you, and I don't want you to get frustrated. So the easiest thing is to continue as a guest, okay? Right, then you submit a voter registration application. And then from there, they'll ask you all of the information, your ID, your social security number, and they'll get everything else registered, submit that. So they basically walk you through it. I've done it just to test it out, and I put in my information, and then they have someone that basically, it looks like a chat. So you submit this information, then you have someone say, okay, great. Do you want to do this or do you have that? You click, and then they'll give you the two options. You click on whatever appeals to you, and then you go for it. It literally takes no more than 5 to 7 minutes. So it is a really easy process. Okay, so no photo ID is required in 2020. You know what? Let me go back because I want to go ahead and touch this really quick. Okay. Okay, so I just want to kind of show you some things that we have going on with the absentee ballot. Okay, so now this is the process that we have now. So any registered voter in North Carolina can request an absentee. Oh, let me make this bigger. Sorry. So any registered voter in North Carolina can request an absentee ballot. Like I said, no request is required. If you are unable to request it on your own, then you can get a family member who can also request a ballot for you. And that's near relative, spouse, sibling, parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, in-laws, step-parent, stepchild. Those are the people that can request that for you. And they're also the only people who can turn it in for you. And so I'm saying that because say if you filled out an absentee ballot, you got your form, and then you see someone in orange with the You Can Vote shirt, and you say, hey, I filled out this ballot, can you turn it in for me? We can't. Only yourself or your near relative can request and turn in the ballot for you. No one else can do that, okay? Blank copies of the request form can be distributed, but volunteers cannot submit those forms, okay? You can also request a ballot and not use it. So say you say, I wanna go ahead and do absentee ballot. And then later on you decide, you know what, I think I'm gonna try my chances at the polling location. Even if your ballot comes in, you're not obligated to fill it out. You can just, all you would need to do is go to whatever polling location if you're doing early voting, or if you're gonna do same day, and then you can cast your ballot that way. But you cannot vote twice. So you can't complete the absentee ballot request and then go and vote same day or early voting. That is definitely against the law. So we don't want you to get any type of federal charges for that. But if you have requested the ballot and you decide later on that you don't want to use it, then you just need to disregard it, okay? Oops, Let me go back. Make sure I said that. So if you go to youcanvote.org/mail, then you'll be able to find what I was saying, all of the information. You'll be able to find all of this step by step, what I'm showing you now. And we're working on the online request portal. So we're working to have that on the website. So if you just keep checking back, if it's not already on there, then you will be able to request everything all the way online. And if you plan to vote by mail, plan ahead, of course. Okay, so this is what the absentee ballot looks like, okay? It's 10 questions, and you won't have to answer all 10. It's actually very quick, and it's a lot more simple than the voter registration form, so that's nice. So number one, this is where you put your first, middle, last, and all of that suffix. Just like a voter registration form, if you don't have a middle name, you don't have to put NA, you just leave it blank. If you do have a suffix, please, please, please make sure you put that suffix there, because if you're a junior, especially if you're a junior or you're a senior, then you want to make sure that they're not getting you confused with another person, okay? So that can cause really big issues. So this is number one. And then number two, you would just put your date of birth, and you can either put in your driver's license number or the last four of your social. And that's just basically so I can identify you without any issues. If they have this information, they can say, okay, I know for sure this is Zion. I know because she's the only one with these two numbers. So you don't have to put both. If you want to put both, that's not going to hurt anything, but we just need one of those things, okay? And then number three, this is actually where your registration address. So this is where you live. This is where you rest your head, and where you've lived for 30 days prior to November 30th. So that is where you put that information. All right, and number four, this is the mailing address. So if you have your residence, you put your residential address in, but you have a different mailing place, then you would enter that in number four. Okay, so that's not a problem at all. Just remember that you cannot put P.O. Box, any kind of P.O. Box information in number three, because that is not where you rest your head. That's not where you reside, okay? And if you do put a P.O. Box there, then your form will be invalid. But they will call the Board of Elections. You want to make sure you put in your phone number, because they will give you a call if there's any errors within your form. Okay. And then 6 is only if you're a legal guardian or near relative requesting the form on behalf of the voter. And then 7 is only needs to be filled out if this person is assisting. So say if you're requesting a form, you requested it, but you need assistance filling it out, then that number 7 will be filled out as well to make sure that we have that information. And then 8 is only if you are prior military. Let me put this out the way. Yeah, or overseas. So if that doesn't have anything to do with you, then you're good to go. And 9, the form must be signed by the voter or the near relative in order for it to take place, and it cannot be typed, okay? All right, let me go back really quick. Okay, so if you have requested the form yourself, you're not getting assistance, no one requested it yourself, you're not prior military, then the only things that you will have to answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9. Now, of course, remember 5, if you put in your phone number, this information, they can contact you if you didn't fill it out right, or if there's an error, if there was something you missed, they can contact you, and then they can take care of that right away. So it will not hurt you by filling out that information, and they don't share that information with anyone, so it would just be to the Board of Elections. Okay. So the big thing that I want to point out on this slide is, where did it go? Sorry. Okay. The big thing that I want to talk about with, well, two things. One, the deadline for the ballot postmark is November 3rd, but we are advising you to have it postmarked by October 27th. And the reason that is if you postmark it November 3rd, it has to reach your the Board of Elections by November 6th. Considering there's been so many delays with everything dealing with mail and shipments and things of that sort, it's best to make sure that your form is signed and mailed out by October 27th. So that way, you know for sure your vote will get there in time. It gives enough time for you to be able to do whatever you need to do. So yes, the deadline needs to be postmarked by November 3rd, but it has to reach the mail by November 6th. So ways around that, it's actually two ways around that. Make sure you have it sent out by October 27th. That is one way around it. Then you know for sure you'll reach it. And the other thing is, if you requested your absentee ballot and then you get your absentee ballot and you fill it out, you sign it, you have your witness sign it, you can take that very form and you can take your absentee ballot to an early voting location, okay? And that is if you go ahead and request your ballot in enough time, right? So you can take that to an early voting location, and all you would have to do is just go in and sign the drop-off form, and then they'll take it, and then your vote is cast that way as well. So you don't have to wait in line. You just have to say, hey, I'm dropping off my ballot. I just want to make sure I can sign off on it. But please, please, please make sure that you sign off with the drop-off form. If you just have someone and you saying I'm dropping it off and they say, oh, I'll take it, please inquire, and they don't ask you to sign anything, please inquire about signing the drop-off form before you release your form to anyone. Okay, and this is basically what I've talked about already. You mark your ballot, you seal your ballot, you sign the back of the envelope, your witness signs the back of the envelope. If you're getting assistance, then they also sign the back of the envelope, and then you can check any optional requests. Now, I will tell you that all of this information that I'm providing for you is also on the back of the absentee ballot request. So when you request it, it comes with all of these instructions as well. So the information is there. If you can't get access to our website, then all of this information comes with the form when you fill it out. Okay, so do not turn in at your election day polling site, not on the same day. You can do early voting. You can turn in at early voting, but you need to go in and sign the drop-off form. And again, it's best to get it postmarked by October 27th. Okay. So witness requirements, I just want to talk about that. And like I said, you only need one witness versus two now, and the requirements are anyone over 18 who is not a candidate for office. And if the voter is a patient or resident in a facility, a witness must not be the owner, management, or employee of the facility. A person who holds elected office or party official or campaign treasurer manager. So basically, if you are in a residential facility or in a hospital of some sort, staff cannot fill it out, nor the owner. But if you have someone that maybe you have a roommate or you have someone that you're friends with within the facility, they can serve as your witness, and you only need one. And basically, when you're filling out the ballot, you don't have to show them what you're voting for, but they just need to be in the vicinity so that they can witness that you in fact fill out the form, and they just need to sign off on that. Okay, and now they have, because things are digital now, your ballots will be tracked. So when your ballot arrives, you can go to voter lookup to see your updated status, and that's of course after you've sent in the information. It'll say things like received, accepted, rejected, etc., or complete. So if you go to youcanvote.org/lookup, then they will have the status of your ballot there. And of course, any problems that you have, you can contact your county board of elections, as well as the voter hotline, just to make sure that you have the right information. For ballots to be accepted, they must arrive by 5 p.m. on election day or postmarked by November 3rd and arrive by November 6th. But we said by October 27th, right? Just to avoid any kind of confusion when it comes to the mail. But the best plan, I would say, is to vote early in person, or vote early by sending back your absentee ballot as soon as possible. Taking it to a polling location would be amazing. If you can't get there, just remember that a close relative can do it for you. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so moving forward, no photo ID is required in 2020. Woohoo, that's amazing. That was a long fight, but we made it. The only reason why you would need to provide a photo ID, a bill, or government check is if you're doing same-day registration or if you're a first-time voter. And they need to have that information just to make sure it's you, because you're not in the system. So they just need to know that it's you, and they need to have proof of your residency so they can make sure you're going to the right place. Okay, so action steps you can take. If you are looking for ways to get involved, we have a lot of different things that we have going on. We've mentioned a couple of them here. One that we have been pushing pretty heavily is our Champions program. And basically, I'm gonna take you to that so you can see what it looks like. So, all right, so to find out about the Champions program, of course, you go to youcanvote.org, you go to get involved, and then you have become a champion. So this program was created because for those who don't know about You Can Vote is known for their literature that they give out, specifically our fridge cards. Our fridge cards are probably our most requested resource that we have. And so we're like, how can we get this information, still get this information out? Because guess what? We're still gonna have to vote this year. So we still have to figure it out. And so we came up with a program, the Champions program. And what that is we have several different ways of information that you can broadcast for yourself, for your community, for your businesses, etc. So I'm going to show you some things that we are offering, and then if it's something that you feel like I can use this in my neighborhood, or I can tell my friend about this and they can put some fridge cards in their business, then you can just put in a request form for that. Okay, so that just this top part just gives you an in-depth overview of what I just shared with you, basically. So these are the things that we're offering. And guess what, guys? It is free. We just ask that if you really like it, like the things, and you feel motivated to donate. We are a nonprofit, so that would be helpful. So this right here, we have yard signs. And the yard signs is double-sided. So it looks just like this on the other side, but it's Spanish. So we have English and Spanish on this. And you can see here, this is the QR code. I gotta tell you that I still am not quite sure how to use this, but I understand the premise of it. Generally, those who have iPhones, they can just put the scan over the QR code, sorry, and then it'll take you directly to the youcanvote.org register website. And if you have an Android, then you just have to download a QR code app, and then you're able to do the same thing. But it just basically is a really quick and easy way to just scan, and it takes you there. Then we also have the fridge card, so I'm gonna show you. These are our fridge cards. This is the front and back of them. So as you can see on one side, we talk about the ways to vote. We talk about eligibility, and we also have the voter hotline information there. Excuse me. And then on the other side, we have voting dates, early voting election day, and also information still about the census. If you have any questions about the census, then that's there as well. This is, which should look familiar to you all. This is the How Can I Register to Vote in North Carolina. We actually have those in paper form, which is really helpful of going to food bank places and people who are still having to sit in their car. They can get one of these forms and pull out their phone and get registered right there. We also have these awesome masks, which go very quickly, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we have the mask. And then we also have the posters. These posters basically have the same thing that's on the fridge cards, but more so just make your plan and know what's on the ballot, and then information. And they're nice size poster. They usually look, we get a lot of people that work in facilities or rec centers and things of that sort where there's high traffic. That's generally where we have these posters. And we are offering voter registration forms, but we're only offering them for detention centers and residential facilities. So if that's something that that is conducive to what you need, then we can provide that. And then we're also providing the absentee ballot requests for detention centers and residential places. And the only reason why we're only providing it to them is because they don't necessarily have access to that. But if you want any of those things, you would just keep scrolling down and then fill out the request form. And it just asks you a series of questions, and we just want to know basically what you're going to do with it. We really will want to make sure that you're being nonpartisan with this information. If you're in a partisan group and you want to use our information, we cannot allow that. You have to use it strictly for nonpartisan advertisement only. Okay, so that is the Champions program. And we are also looking for, if you're looking for something to do, as we get in orders, we need people to drive to certain locations. Maybe it's, if we just had, I had my deputy, she had to drive to Gastonia to deliver some information. So if you're actually in Cabarrus County or any of those surrounding areas and you're able to drive and do that, that would be a huge help for us. Also, we're also looking for assemblers. I don't know if that's a word or not, but we're looking for people to help us assemble the orders as well. That would be a huge help. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to get in contact with me at Zion, Z-I-O-N, at youcanvote.org. Zion, Z-I-O-N, at youcanvote.org. We also have webinars that we do, webinars and weekly trainings. Our webinars consist of any updates that we're doing within our organization, or any updates that we're doing that we're finding out through legislation. Then we'll have an update webinar. And we also do update webinars specifically for faith organizations, or specifically for other nonprofit organizations such as ours. So we break that down. You just have to check out our website at youcanvote.org/events. We also do trainings. The same thing that I'm doing for you now, we offer that live on Thursdays and Saturdays, I believe that is. But if you go to youcanvote.org/events, that will let you know all the trainings that we have going on. All right, so now that is the end of the presentation. I will open up now for questions. Give me 1 second.
Feel free to unmute yourselves if you have a question.
Zion, I have not a question. I have received 2 requests for absentee ballots, and I received a request for absentee ballot today in the mail. I have not requested any of these. The one that came today looked exactly like the document you had with the 9 areas on it. It had a postage paid envelope with my name on the return address. The as I said, I did not request it. It just came in the mail. When I looked at it and played with it a little bit, the foam would not fit in the envelope, and the envelope could not be sealed. So something was wrong with that, first of all, because I didn't request it, and second of all, it could not be sealed.
Now, I will tell you first, I'll address, I don't want you to be in fear, but because of the pandemic, by law, they have been required to mail everyone an absentee ballot. So I've received at least 2 myself, but I never really paid any attention to it. I just know that they are required to send that out to everyone to basically to give that option. Now, I've also heard about, and I can't really speak too much for it fitting, but I've heard that that has been an issue. And that I don't know what to really say, but it's not out of the ordinary that you have been sent the absentee ballot. If anything, everyone should have received an absentee ballot request because they've been required to do that for everyone.
Actually, I watched the debate last night, the North Carolina Senate debate, and they mentioned it. You should have received probably at least 2 by now.
Yeah.
So, and it's for the pandemic.
Yeah.
That was discussed.
Well, I want to thank you for your presentation. I need to leave because I need to do something else, but thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for attending.
Thanks, Pinky. So Zion, based on that, you don't think there's any fake stuff coming? If you got one of those, it's okay to fill it out and send it back. Because actually ours, the one we got for our daughter who's in college, it didn't fit in the envelope and I had to tape it shut, and it looked legitimate, but I mean, there's not something out there that's not legitimate in that nature, is there, that you've heard of?
I'm not going to say that it's not, because that's not necessarily true. When election time comes, people get really creative. People truths come out. I would just say that make sure that the address that they have listed for it to be mailed back to is accurate. So the best thing you can do is look up your local Board of Elections address. Also look up the North Carolina State Board of Elections address and make sure it matches up.
Track it. In North Carolina, you can track it.
That's another thing too. And was it youcanvote.org/mail, I think, is where you can track it once you've sent it in.
That's not the request for absentee. That's the actual ballot, right?
Correct.
I have a question.
Sure.
Do you, I'm not in Charlotte, I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. Do you have like an area for down here? And if I go on your site, will it give the issues on my ballot or?
I can get you connected. We do have a regional director there. We have some things that are region specific, but a lot of things it's better to get you plugged into our regional director in that area, which I think, Wilmington, what county is that?
New Hanover.
Okay, so that would be Bob. Bob is our regional director there. And really, if you want to email him, you can just bob@youcanvote.org.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Anybody else have any questions for Zion?
I have a
today?
question. I have my absentee ballot, and I want to know if I can assume that I can vote for everybody on this ballot, or do I need to check that out? Are they, you know how when you vote in person, it pops up with the people that are in your district that you are eligible to vote for. Was that taken into consideration when this ballot was sent to me?
Yes. So however, whatever your, first of all, whatever your affiliation is, whatever your district is, just like going into the polling site, you're gonna get the same exact thing except it's just paper form. So
Okay,
everything will be included in that. If you get the ballot and something seems wrong about it, call the voter hotline number. They'll be able
no,
to.
it seems good. It's just that I wanted to know how much time I needed to spend to validate that these were all people I should vote for. But I just did check 411 vote, and it does seem, or that one that you had up there, and it seems like it's the same offices that are on my ballot. So
Perfect. Awesome. Good looking.
Zion, in the early voting timeframe, do you have a sense of, is there a best time of day in order to, I mean, obviously with COVID, everybody's a little bit nervous about going out. Is there a recommendation about time of day to go where it's less crowded? Is there any?
Honestly, early voting is just not crowded ever. So it really doesn't matter what time you go, but I would probably suggest any time before 3 o'clock would probably be a good time.
Okay.
I have one more question. It's that when you sign the person that's the witness that for your ballot, is that's I didn't see it on, but there is a space for them to sign.
Yes, there is a space for them to sign, but it'll be once you get your ballot. It won't be on the
Really obvious. You kind of froze up.
Did you catch it? Yeah, you froze up too. Okay. Yeah, it will be on the witness will be for once you get the ballot itself, but it's not for the request form, but the ballot, there should be a place on the back of the envelope.
Oh, I should have noticed that. Hold on.
And the witness can be anybody, family member or other, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's just as long as it's not like, again, if it's a residential facility, it can't be any staff or owner of that
Gotcha.
facility.
It's on the it's on the envelope.
Yeah.
Witness, yes. Okay, got it.
Awesome.
Zion, where are you needing the assemblers that you mentioned?
Where am I? I'm sorry, can you ask that
At
again?
what location, where are you needing the assemblers?
We want it here in the Charlotte office. So we're located in the International House in Plaza Midwood. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area, but it's right off of Central Avenue. And if you're familiar with the Harris Teeter, that's on Central Avenue. Or Zeta James. It's in that area, but it's called the International House, and it used to be the mid school years ago. But Midwood, it's in the Midwood Plaza area. The address is 1817 Central Avenue, Suite 105. 1817 Central Avenue, Suite 105.
Okay. And one more question. Do you know if poll workers are still needed for this election?
From my understanding, poll workers are definitely still needed, especially because most of the poll workers that has come in the past, their immune system is compromised within this. So we've been having to encourage more people to do, but that is still very much open.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. It was a great presentation. Good info.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy.
And I know some of you, I've been working with the Y to put this up. So this program, as well as our last few programs, and any of the older ones, if you want, I can get them up there. But we're going to be putting them up on our virtual site, our YouTube page, so that, if you know somebody you want to share this with, I know a lot of people forget or go, oh, I know somebody who really wants this information. That's going to be available to anybody can go there to see. So I just want to make you all aware that that's I think, let's see if I can even put this, how you can get this. All right, so I just nope, that's not the right thing. Never mind, it's not the right thing. But let me see if I can get it for you real quick. And if not, you can always email me and. Let's see here. All right, I'm having trouble making this work. But anyway, I will get this to you.
Thanks.
Hold on, one more try. Last time, hopefully this will work this time. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, let's see.
Okay, if you look in your chat, there are 3 ways to find these videos. So there's, we have the app, if you have the Y app, and if you don't, you can go to YouTube and then search YOG, virtual YOGC. So this will be there along with some of the previous programs. So you might want to, that YouTube page, go to YouTube and then type in search virtual YOGC. Yay, I got that there. So feel free to share that because I know a lot of you might want to either repeat this for yourself or share it with somebody. We'd love for you to share. So anybody else have any more questions for today? I'm so glad you guys came. Next week, I think all of you guys are on my email, but next week we're talking about power of attorney. So we have a state elder law attorney coming on, the importance of power of attorney, particularly right now, but there's in COVID, but there's lots of things to know about getting powers of attorney set up and having your paperwork, your healthcare power of attorney, your financial powers of attorney, but that paperwork is really important, particularly even now more so during COVID. That's what we're coming up next week. But I thank you all for being here. Zion, thank you for coming twice. I'm glad we could get it done this time. Yay. And,
Thank you so much.
everything your organization is doing is amazing. It's just, I'm so glad to know that you guys are out there. And then the breadth of information to get on your website and learn how to be a more engaged voter. So that's what my takeaway today, because there's a lot of things that I have just skipped over personally because I didn't know where to get the information in a nonpartisan place. So I'm really excited to be able to spend some time to research in a way that I feel more confident that I can make choices on things outside of the every 4-year election. So
Right.
Thank you for that.
That really gives me joy to hear that. So I'm grateful. Thank you all for having me.
All right, well, we appreciate you and thank you so much for being with us. Guys, I hope to see you next week and I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right, thank you so much, Zion, appreciate you.
Thank
Keep
you.
doing your thing.
Woo-hoo.
Yoo-hoo. And you can, if you want to share this presentation with anybody too, since it's recorded and it's up there, feel free to go to that as well. It's there. I know you do this all the time, but
I have no idea how do you get that to record?
I'll send you a link. That makes me feel really good that you just said that. Like, I know something, I can share a piece of technology with somebody. That is like, you just made my day.
Perfect.
All right, I will send you the link. Thank you so much. You were amazing. We really appreciate all your work. It's inspiring. So hang in there, keep going, and let's hope we get lots of big turnout this season.
Definitely.